Hello, Speed Gaming 3. How's it going? It is I, Wef Jebster, and I am here to commentate this second round of the losers bracket matchup in the Timespinner Randomizer Speed Gaming live tournament. Here with good friend of mine, Mark Magus.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, so we do have a losers bracket matchup in a 2 and out situation here. So this is kind of do or die. If you'll excuse my brief moment of sports announcer talk here, this is do or die. Winning you're in, losing you're out. All the chips on the table. The stakes have never been higher. We've got Neomatamune versus WindFaeMaiden. We have Neomatamune, who is kind of a newcomer to the community and has been getting better and better at the randomizer, and WindFaeMaiden, who is a very well-accomplished time spinner speedrunner who is only getting more and more familiar with the randomizer the more that she plays. So this is going to be really, really exciting. I'm hoping for a really good, close race. What do you think, Mark?
Yeah, I think this will be a really interesting matchup. You covered the nuts and bolts of that right there. And Wef, I imagine you're very excited to see the outcome of this. The winner of this race will be going up against Wef Jebster in the next round.
Yeah, I'm doing a little scouting work, if you will, right here. The runners are ready, so it looks like they should be starting any moment. So while we wait for that, what are you looking to see here in this?
I apologize, I'm getting some stuff set up. So, let's see. I'm hoping to see some interesting routing divergence kind of in the late early game. That makes for the most interesting races.
Yeah, right. They don't really want to make it too easy on us as commentators if they both are constantly doing the same thing. What I want to see is early decisions that we get to keep an eye on and see if they really matter in the long run of the race. Looking for where our first vertical is, where our first fire checks are, stuff like that. See how long it takes them to go to these diverging routes, and if any of them are required or if they're dead checks. Really, this randomizer is far from solved.
Yeah, and there can be lots of like minor choices where, like, do you want to go for that one out of the way check, and it can be low percentage, but if it does turn out to be something important, it can be highly consequential. We saw that in one of the races the other day, where just one chest that was go left or go right hitting the past at the refugee camp, and it was the Celestial Sash, and
that was basically the difference between the runners.
It was
finding
at least
that
a good minute.
Yeah, it was finding that infinite vertical movement early. Just makes everything so much faster. You don't have to look for other kinds of vertical movement to get your progression. As the runners start out, they have Shattered Orb, which is a favorite orb among many people in the community, and Dark Flames, which is pretty low tier among most people in the community, but they do come up with a Colossal Blade right away, so that's good.
And these are both experienced runners, so they probably won't make... Every now and then with Dark Flames, I see that word flames and I think, oh yeah, I have fire. So hopefully neither of them will have that little mental glitch.
Yeah, so what you're going to see, and this is already kind of different between the two runners, Shattered Orb is a low damage with multiple hits orb. And so what we're going to be interested in seeing here is the experience point routes that happen here between the two runners. We have multiple hits, which means if you even increase all of those hits by 1 damage, it actually drastically increases the amount of damage you're doing overall, even with just one button press. So just like any Metroidvania worth its salt, there is experience points and progression that way. So this Shattered Orb really has a chance to make a difference the more experience you gain. And most runners will try and gain 1 level before this first boss fight coming up.
Yes, and we can see both of the runners are taking a decent number of fights. All of these enemies you can just damage boost through, and sometimes we see that in some of the runs, but we're definitely seeing them both taking those few extra seconds now to make sure they get enough kills to get that level.
Yeah, that D card they picked up is huge, but actually, you know, in this early game, that ancient coin is going to make this first boss fight a lot shorter, even without a level up.
That is a good point.
And yeah, what it does is actually increases your damage a little bit, but it also increases your luck, which means they have a higher chance of getting these rare drop equipments that can really boost damage and sometimes defense. Although at this point in the tournament, I'm not 100% certain these runners are caring about defense. It's all about that damage per second.
Absolutely is. And yeah, this early in the game, having that luck up, just if you do pick up one of those rare drops in the mid game, it can, depending on what other equipment you're finding, it can really let you fly.
Yeah, as you'll see, WindFae is coming up to that first boss fight and is actually fighting that first boss. You'll see those 3s, the 1s, and the 2s. Those could have just been 2s and 1s, but since there was either that ancient coin or that level up, that ancient coin may not have had as much of an effect this early, but that one level up will actually greatly increase the amount of damage that she's doing. Making really quick work out of that boss.
Indeed.
So we do have the D key card, which is our first required item. Just so people who haven't been keeping up with the tournament are aware, there are a set of key items that you need to actually finish this game. You need a D card, a B card, 5 pieces of the Timespinner, and some sort of infinite vertical in the form of either Light Wall or Celestial Sash. The D card will give them a little bit access to the right side of this, or the left side of a tower that's coming up. But first of note, this hallway with these little helicopters and these platforms over these pits of water, it just makes an utter fool out of even the most experienced runners. These copters, they just don't ever seem to cooperate. The platforms just are never where you think they should be. And WindFae having a couple falls there. If Neo can do that a little more cleanly, that'll make up some significant time.
And yeah, so this might we may be coming up on either our first point of divergence or our first point of divergence from a lot of what we've seen in the tournament. Very often we're seeing Twin Pyramid keys somewhere in the library because something has to let you out of the library. And your options are either to teleport out to the past, or using that D key card, continue on into more of the present, as the vanilla route would have you go. And
we did just see the Timespinner wheel, so if WindFae finds the spindle here in the library, it's going to look a lot like it is what we call a vanilla time travel seed. But also, that will be 3 pieces of the Timespinner already, but unfortunately not finding it, which means unless there's something really good in this next chest coming up, they're going to have to backtrack all the way back to where they started to use that wheel to get exactly 1 treasure chest.
They have the D cards. They could continue forward toward the towers.
Yes, or there's Light Wall.
Or that could happen, and
that definitely makes it more of a decision.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely have choices now. We could do the backtracking for a couple of extra checks on the left side of the past, or we could press forward.
Yeah, I would say either way is a bit of its own gamble. If you go back and backtrack and that's the money, then that is gigantic because you don't have to double dip the tower. The tower is kind of a routing nightmare unless you have the right items for it. And Crimdoll, exactly what Crimdoll is saying is what I would do here. You grab the save in the library and backtrack. If it's nothing, you save and quit. Get your save back in the library and then run right. So you don't really lose all that much time with that backtracking. WindFae opting for the tower. We will see which way Neo decides to go after he finds the light wall.
Yep, just a moment.
Just a metal wristband. That is a backtrack confirmed.
WindFae kind of hoping to have that door that doesn't open without the C card magically open for her, or committing to the backtrack. And Neo is also heading into the towers.
only to find the disappointment that WindFae has already found.
Yeah, so while we're doing that backtrack, maybe we should talk a little bit about that Timespinner wheel that they found a little while ago. That's kind of the quintessential item of this game. We call it Timespinner. It's a game about time travel, and that exists in two ways. We alluded to going to the past, which they haven't gotten to do yet, and we'll get to see that pretty soon. But already, because we have the Timespinner wheel, we have the ability to temporarily stop time. And you may see one or both of the runners using that quickly to more quickly navigate through rooms and dodge enemies, but you can also use it to turn them into platforms and position yourself better for fights and things like that. I expect to see a lot of that as the game progresses.
Yeah, with this light wall, they might not use it for platforming all that much. Here, you definitely don't want to do it because it is faster to light wall there.
Right, especially if you can position your light wall so smoothly like WindFaeMaiden just set up. And WindFaeMaiden now has her favorite orb.
Mm-hmm. The wind orb. It's a favorite because it is an orb that just does as many attacks as you can do with your button presses. There's no cooldown at all. Every other orb in this game at least has some sort of cooldown. So it'll be interesting to see how frequently WindFae will revert to that good old wind orb. If she finds the icicle ring, and there's the spindle for time travel. If she's
gonna go check the skeleton while she's here,
yeah, the icicle ring will shoot an icicle out that is ice type damage every time she attacks. And since the wind orb has no cooldown, it kind of turns Lunaeus's melee orbs into a sort of machine gun. And so you're going to see some more backtracking here because now that WindFae has that spindle, WindFae has to go all the way back to the tower. And this is kind of where I was talking about, where going to the tower is its own sort of gamble. There's a lot of space that is being backtracked here that if you can only do it once, that is gigantic.
Absolutely. And I have to imagine both runners at the moment are thinking, oh no, what if the other one went left first?
Yeah.
I might be... That's like, what, 2 minutes behind?
Yeah, with no saves coming here, that's a good amount of time. I don't know. It might be upwards of 2 minutes with the reclimb of the tower.
I guess we can kind of see how long does it take from approximately where WindFae is now until she gets to the Timespinner room. That's how much difference it is.
Yeah. So yeah, if they're not going to use the wheel for platforming there, we're probably not going to see wheel platforming anytime in this seed, which is unfortunate because it's one of the more fun aspects of this game. One of the many pieces of information we hear from people who play this game vanilla are like, I think I got like a skip. I think I sequence broke here or something. Where it's like, no, you were supposed to stop time and jump on that dude's head and jump over the pit. That was exactly what you were supposed to do. It's just that kind of game. It's a real creative way, makes you feel smart. And in the randomizer, the wheel, unfortunately, is relegated to, I want to run past these enemies without deboosting.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the joys of the game, and it's maybe 10 minutes into your casual playthrough, you get into this room where you are absolutely forced to use the wheel and jump on that enemy's head, or you can't progress. So
yeah,
one of the things I really like about that game.
Neo did just use time stop to platform on top of one of these spring birds, so using a little bit of vanilla tech.
Yeah, just like that.
Unfortunately, you can't time stop indefinitely. You have a little hourglass up by our runners top left of their screen. When that hourglass is empty, you are out of time stop powers as WindFae goes to the past. It is about a minute and a half from that point to the top of the tower, so that's a significant amount. Oh, okay.
I am switching our audio over to WindFaeMaiden since she's at the moment actually ahead.
Yes. All right, so we're getting some early items in the past here. The one character, the NPC that does give you an item in the randomizer, offered the tablet, and we also found the gas mask in the past. So that is two really interesting items. The tablet can be used to download items from these computers that you may have seen running when they were running around in the library. And also, there's a ton of tablets later in the game. So that's kind of one of those items where we're not going to have to wonder where it is.
And those are enough checks that not knowing can be...
Yeah. WindFae immediately going back to the library to check them.
Thanks for that tablet, sweetie. I'm going to go use that.
Yeah. 1 second. I'll save the timeline in a second. I got to go do some reading. But they did get they will get the gas mask once they get to the past. But the gas mask will also help after you kill one of the required bosses in this game. It creates like a noxious gas that you can't really breathe. If you don't have the gas mask, then you will start losing your oxygen and then your health really, really quickly. So it's good to have the gas mask. Sometimes runners will beat that required boss early and not have the gas mask, gambling that they'll just find it. But there are instances where that gas mask is in an area where you will need to breathe some of that gas to find it. It is technically a sequence break if you kill that boss first without the gas mask.
So we just hit our most common point of major route divergence as they come into the past out of the refugee camp, and you can see Neo. Oh, nope. Neo's going back to the library. But that spot where you came up, we saw WindFae go to the left and pick up one treasure chest and then come back to the right. Players can continue to the left there, and there are a number of checks you can do. And sometimes some runners will opt to do those earlier. I think I would say that WindFae is on the more common route.
And here's an interesting one. WindFae actually going to pick up this portal. A lot of people will just not bother doing that. As I said, there is a required boss that adds all that fog. Well, that required boss is kind of on the other side of that portal. Most of the time, you're going to be behind that portal anyway. So you're kind of hoping that you want to return to that area after the first time you've been there if you grab that portal. It's not that big of a gamble to grab it, and it's not that big of a gamble to not grab it. It's just an interesting little idiosyncrasy of the run.
Yeah, the time cost for... So if you enter a room with a portal, then you've secured the knowledge of that portal. So once you have access to our fast travel, which we haven't found yet, you can warp back to that location. So taking that extra few seconds just to enter the room for the first time can potentially help save you some time later if you do find yourself in the situation that you want to warp back there.
So we did not get the check to the left from Neo. So that is a small divergence, but it does seem they are both going to the right. So far, no real, nothing missing, really. You have our first pink item, which is important for exactly one check. And we'll see that later. And
yeah, since that check to the left did end up being nothing, it was like health up or something, that'll be a little bit of time save for Neo. They'll be able to route that in later for free when they're going that way anyway.
And you're also seeing Neo not getting the portal. Probably the exact same reasoning that I said. You know, we beat this Maw, and we're going to be over there anyway, so there's not a lot of reason to grab that. Once you've grabbed the item that's on that cliff that they light walled up to, there's really nothing, no reason to go to that portal very frequently in the late game.
Yeah, it would only be if you're in the situation that you want to go to that underground lake before going to the mall, or have to because you haven't been able to find your water mask.
Yep. So we saw the V key card from WindFae, and we spoke about the tablet and all the downloadable items in the library. Well, that V key card unlocks 3 more downloadable items in the library. Both of the runners went immediately back to the library as soon as they found that tablet. For instance, they were at the only possible way that they can get back to the present right now without the pyramid keys. So that's a reasonable play. But really, if you don't know, you might want to just wrap all of your tablet checks in one visit to the library.
Yep, and that would be, well, more common with fast travel. But
Yes,
yeah,
with
so
no,
go ahead.
Go for it.
So the Twin Pyramid Keys is a key item that we haven't found yet. It unlocks both direct travel between the past and the present, and fast travel between all of those portal locations. Without that available, the randomizer does turn on one portal between the past and the present, so that routing is possible. And that's the one that we saw them take between the back of the refugee camp and the library. So currently that's their only way to connect past and present.
Yeah, so you've got to wonder, if there's something exciting behind that V card, how long is it going to take for them to get it?
Yeah, right now it's out of the way.
It's very out of the way. You have to go all the way back to that refugee camp just to get it. So they're going to have to go all the way through this right side of the map, do a long, long climb up these towers. They will be fighting some bosses as they're going, which are required. But man, if we're looking at something like pyramid keys out of that check, poof.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think we'll expect, unless we see pyramid keys, probably even if we see pyramid keys, they're going to finish the towers first.
Right, and we'll see if they remember that once you have the pyramid keys, in order to be able to use these warp shards that they've been picking up here and there out of treasure chests, they will have to at least use the portals one time, which a lot of people forget in vanilla past access seeds. You do have to use the portals in order to be able to use warp shards to automatically take you to the last portal you used.
Yeah, and depending on exactly when if you do forget, depending on when you remember and where you are, that can potentially cost you a fair amount of time in backtracking. Right. Although it looks like they're going to be past the last portal before they find pyramid keys at this rate anyway, so...
Alright, so this is our first actual required boss that WindFaeMaiden is now fighting. It's the twins and the golden idol that comes after the twins. This fight's not going to take long. We have Light Wall and Shattered Orb, which are the two main usable weaknesses of this golden idol. Just doing tons and tons and tons of damage really, really quickly, just melting that boss. Not much to comment on there, except that's just how that fight goes when you've already had to do a lot of things before getting to it. They're a bit over-leveled, and they have weaknesses that they honestly should not have at this point in the Light Wall.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the nice things about kind of having to have Light Wall active anyway for movement is that you can just throw up 3 light walls onto the golden idol and have it do its damage over time while you keep pounding it with, in this case, your Shattered Orb, and yeah, that's just
as
best case for that fight.
As soon as WindFae gets out of that fight, she chooses Nether Orb as her orb of choice. It's the same type of damage, but as you can maybe see as these runners are going through, if the Nether Orb comes into contact with an enemy's projectile, it creates those little portals. You may have just picked it up when Neo did it, but it creates these little portals that do a ton of damage just by virtue of taking up the same spot as one of the enemies. So you'll see that hopefully here in this upcoming boss fight in a couple of minutes on WindFae's side. It's another orb you're really not supposed to have, but it just works wonders with some of the bosses if you have it when you're not supposed to.
And it's particularly nice in that boss fight that WindFae is coming up on. Ilana is weak against dark, and while the Nether Orb itself does blunt damage, those portals count as dark damage.
And WindFae has made a jail for herself.
Oh boy. The mixed blessing of Light Wall, it is a wall. You can jump on it, but you can't walk through it. We don't really see in the speedrun, in the casual game, occasionally people will actually use that to advantage also to block enemies out. It's impassable to them as well.
Notably, Neo is getting some pretty poor RNG from this boss fight. We had 2 desperation attacks instead of just the one that WindFae got.
Aww.
the desperation attack is rough because it creates a long time where you're just not allowed to hit the enemy, which is kind of unfair. But you know, them's the breaks.
Yeah, that buzzsaw, it's not that hard to avoid, especially with what we have at this stage. But yeah, as we've said, it just takes a really long time before it goes away and the hitbox comes back. I want to follow up. Waffle Soup made a point in chat that apparently the warp between the camp and the library counts as taking a warp for activating your pyramid keys. So
that is true. I did forget that they did that. WindFae's out of aura. She's gonna have to burn an item. This is the actual problem with having Light Wall. Is in order to scale this tower, they're going to need to use a lot of aura, which means they're going to need to use a lot of their aura replenishment items.
Yep. And they'll have to menu in to use those items, and they've got a few more.
Yeah, good movement from Neo here using Time Stop to just jump over all of those birds.
This would be a great place, actually, in order to save some aura for WindFae to use Time Stop to jump on these Ice Adepts' heads.
Yeah,
she's realizing it now.
Yep, I was gonna say, it looks like she must have overheard you. We do have a Star of Lachiam, which Neo is going to equip. I don't think WindFae will, but it is something that allows you to... You have 2 orbs equipped. What the Star of Lachiam does is allow you to use that first orb of the 2 a second time. So it's functionally having 3 orbs. Most of the time, you're going to see runners only ever equip matching orbs instead of going 1 in each hand. It's just easier to manage your damage types that way. Neo trying to get this climb in. It does not look like he's going to get it from this angle.
Ooh, that's
not good.
Duck. Is WindFae gonna try to... Oh, that's a water mask.
That is a water mask, and here comes the struggle juggle.
Yeah, she's out of aura, not out of aura.
She's about to be out of sand, so she has to use a sand bottle.
Oh, boy.
Get there.
Oh, no.
Oh, no!
Oh, no!
She was right there.
So that's the thing we call it, the struggle juggle, and you can see why we call it a struggle. But she's trying to coax that enemy upward by alternating turning off and on the time stop, and especially without double jump, as she is right now, it's really tricky to get that timing right and get it up there without running out of sand.
Yeah, it's kind of, we were wondering how long she's going to keep attempting this. She might want to reset the room. He's in a really bad spot right now.
Mm.
Oh, and then getting aura to use, but not having enough aura for the second light wall.
She thought she had enough for 2.
Oh, jeez. And now the...
Oh, no.
What's happening there?
What? Is there an invisible light wall?
Yeah, it's not going away. That was something I've never seen before.
Neither have I. See that Bodhi made reference to the lost wall bug in chat. I'm not familiar with that, but
yeah, there's a minor bug where light walls will show up where they're not supposed to.
No big deal.
Like when you cast the light wall, you will hear Lunaeus make the noise as if she cast it, but then the light wall shows up somewhere else, usually off screen. Well, this is a really, really long tower. It probably showed up off screen, and part of the bug is it just didn't go away. Neomatamune is going to first try this chest. It is, unfortunately for him, not a required item. That could have been very big if that was a required item.
Well, on the other hand, it not being a required item, if WindFae is going to go back for it, which...
This is true.
She probably will after the Alana fight. When she's at full.
I mean, you don't know. He's like, she might just say, you know what? It's 1 check.
Yeah, she might just decide it's dead.
It's not worth it.
But she's never going to get any closer, so...
Yeah, She might want to wait.
It's definitely a
and come back.
now or never kind of thing.
And here we see, you see that nether orb intersecting that little plasma ball that Ilana, this boss, is shooting out, opening up those nether portals, doing dark type damage. And Ilana is weak to that type of damage, and we're going to see the end of this fight right here.
Now. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that Ilana is still alive after that.
Really? So Ilana's desperation attack, that giant laser counts as a projectile. So if you line up your nether orb correctly, you can just pump out a lot of portals right there.
Yeah, and look at this. Just like this, Neo has built a lot of time save back up on WindFae just by first trying that one chest. Oh, and Neo's going for the Blood Orb on one of them and Bombardment. So Blood Orb is a nice play here because it will deal damage that Ilana is weak to. We'll see if he if he jewelry boxes back to Nether Orb when she goes into her desperation attack. That would be a very, very fast way to play this.
Yeah, that would be a great strat. And one nice thing about Blood Orb, you can see it right here while Ilana's up at the top of the room. Blood Orb has like a little bit of seeking ability, which also means you can.
And there we have it. He did exactly that. That's a really good play.
And back to Blood Orb so that we can get her from below.
Yeah,
it's a really nice approach to this fight.
And it's over. That was really fast. WindFae is going back to get that tower. We'll see if she has any better luck this time.
Oh. This makes a lot of sense with no pyramid keys yet. Knowing that you're in for a long walk, you definitely wouldn't want to come back here again the long way.
And there is her finding out that, well, that was much ado about nothing, just a Merchant Crow, which is a very fine familiar that you can use, but it's not really worth the menuing time to equip it.
And we're just like basically exactly in sync.
Look at this, just like that. Neo is actually like a couple seconds ahead. They are now completely in lockstep. They have the same checks as each other. None of them. The only check that is different is that WindFae has checked that chest to the left of the refugee camp, and Neo will probably get that on his way to the left anyway. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark. I think we have yet to have a seed where the pyramid keys just don't show up.
That is correct. I have not seen one yet. We had very late pyramid keys in a recent seed this weekend, but I don't think we've had a entirely walking seed. We were worrying we might.
Yeah, Crimdall in chat makes a really good point. While they're going back this way, it'll be interesting to see if either of them goes into that refugee camp, takes that free portal, checks those 3 really, really, really quick chests in the library for the V card.
Yeah, and I probably would. I'm not sure that it's the right choice. It is 3 quick checks, but if you're walking all the way through the refugee camp and across the library, it's suddenly not that quick. It would be quicker while going forward in the present later if it doesn't have anything that matters to you for clearing up the past.
Right. I mean, they have the water mask, so technically everything that is in the past that they need to get to is available with that light wall and that water mask. So it'll be interesting to see if they just say, you know what, I'm going to do the required thing, and hopefully that V card doesn't yield anything, and if it does, I'll check it later.
Yep.
But if it has something even like double jump, that will be a lot of time save.
True. Or like an Eternal Code or something.
Yeah, Eternal Code would be big. The best body armor in the game, boosts your attack and defense by a significant amount. They do already have the Empire Crown, which is the best head slot item in the game, barring, some very rare exceptions. And looks like both of them are skipping it.
They are, and also interestingly, neither of them decided to go down to that underground lake while they were going past. That would have been another routing option. With the water mask, they could pick up all of those. The thing we were talking about that they're going to do after Maw anyway. You could do it first if you wanted to, since there's that free teleport out to the refugee camp. Would have been an interesting option.
Routing that underground lake into the refugee camp, into the library.
Yeah,
for the V card checks.
Completely
That
valid
would be
option.
some next level routing if they had done that and it paid off. Still just finding nothing of consequence in any of these checks. They've got to be wondering, like, oh gosh, did I forget something? Did I miss?
Yeah, and remember, both of them are probably still thinking that they're about 90 seconds behind from, or potentially 90 seconds behind from that first choice, where there was no obvious correct choice whether to go left or right at the beginning of the game. So I know if I were running, I would be assuming my opponent had made the other choice.
Well, here's a divergence if I've ever seen one.
Okay.
WindFae going to the swimming area and Neo going up on the top of Lake Serene. Usually you don't want to do this until you have fire because you want to burn those vines as you're coming up here, but oh, if this pays off. We already have a Shadow Seal coming out of this, which is a favorite ring. It does more damage the less health you have, but on the other side, WindFaeMaiden finds Jin Inferno, which is a fire source and also an incredibly powerful spell, and he backtracks. Oh man. I think he realizes maybe I'm making the wrong move here.
I mean, he may just like doing... His normal route might be... Because you very often have fire checks by the time you come here. He may have just sort of been on autopilot of, I like to do those upper right checks, then go down into the water, and then circle around back, loop around back to the top left, and...
Yep.
He was just slightly on autopilot there. It's not bad as is, but without the fire, it loses some of that value.
Yeah. Interesting thing going on here. They're finding warp shards in chests. I think that might be their third one. One of the key stops that you want to make once you have the pyramid keys, the merchant crow that you can buy items from actually starts selling warp shards in the merchant crow's shop. So if they find enough warp shards before they find the keys, they might not actually need to do that.
Yeah, that would be a bit of time save. Well, and the longer this goes on without finding the keys, the more of the warp shards that you usually count as expecting to use, they've already backtracked.
Yep.
So yeah, WindFae coming across the upper Lake Serene to burn those vines now.
Yep, so...
she's got Jin Inferno.
She is going to get that Shadow Seal. Meanwhile, Neo is just going right to the required thing. This is what I was kind of talking about. Do you go check the periphery, or you just go do the required thing? Without the pyramid keys, doing the required thing is actually the gamble here. But, you know, if you find pyramid keys here, or if pyramid keys are just buried, this is huge. Nether Orb is also huge here. The powder that these mushrooms will emit are actually projectiles, so the Nether Orb will create a portal that basically instantly kills those mushrooms. Kind of makes killing them easier when they have no poison protection. Poison is pretty dangerous in this randomizer.
Yeah, so a lot of the enemies in these caves that Neo is in apply poison to you as a status effect, and it does a percentage of your health damage over time. So no matter how well things are going, it still can be very dangerous and put you down to 1 health where anything can knock you out. So I think you have to be cautious of.
Real dangerous. We did find, Neo did anyway, found a Selen's Bangle, which I'd say it's still kind of early enough in the seed for that to matter. What it does is double your experience. So if you have it equipped for long enough, you are going to get a damage per second boost advantage for sure. Nothing required.
Oh boy.
At the top side of Lake Serene, we'll see if the fire part of that is required, which is the areas you can get to after you burn those vines in the present, but you know, who knows when they're actually going to make it to the present. Meanwhile, Neomatamune not finding anything in the Maw Caves either.
Yeah, I guess they could walk over to those fire checks anytime they want.
They technically could.
From the refugee camp to the library, walking back to the first room of the game, all the way.
Well, keyless seeds, that's just kind of how they go sometimes. Here comes Jackpot Room. We have a C key card. Oh,
wow, that's
boy.
like the worst thing to see there.
They don't
as key items go.
they don't want to see that. That does open up one door on the left side of that tower that they went to, where the time spinner was that got him back in the past in the first place. But it also opens up the right side of the tower almost entirely. Oh, this might be a grinder of a seed, everybody.
But it makes that right side of the tower still a dead end.
Yep, it's still a dead end. They can at least grab a warp for when they theoretically eventually get the pyramid keys, but starting to look like that might not be a foregone conclusion.
No, they can't get to the warp without elevator key card.
Jail for himself, so now they're one-on-one with Lightwall jailing themselves.
Oh boy. No, if they, with what they currently have, if they explored the towers, they would have to Lightwall back out of the vents and walk back the long way down the left side. We don't have an elevator key card yet.
Very exciting. Very exciting stuff.
Even get the portal. It would just be a dead end for checks and a long walk back out.
It looks like
we might see.
It looks like Neo's doing some orb switching with the eye orb. It's maybe the best orb that you can do that with. It's a strategy where you can cut back on the cooldown time of an orb by switching off and back on that orb. So here we go. This is our third required boss fight in the past. It's the Maw. They have the wheel, so there is a cheese, and you'll probably see Neo use that and some of that eye orb switching that I was just talking about to take care of this boss really, really quickly.
Yeah, and there it goes. Wow, eye orb does a lot of damage without avoiding the cooldown. And with this, that's just really dramatic. There goes the Maw.
Yeah.
WindFae taking a quick moment to actually double check the map and make sure she hasn't missed any checks. One of the nice features of the randomizer.
Yeah. Little self promo for you there. The auto tracker.
Oh no, that's all Yarno.
Well, that is all Yarno. Yeah. But this game, while we see this climb up from Neomatamune up this elevator shaft, we are getting a look at what was I going to say? The auto tracker and then the map tracker, both of which kind of come for free with the randomizer with no configuration.
So yeah, in the randomizer, when you open up the game's built-in map function, WindFae is just taking some intentional damage here to activate the Shadow Seal for the Maw fight.
Yeah, we'll see what that Shadow Seal does, especially if she also does some of that orb switching we were talking about. Oh, she's going with Ice Orb instead of Eye Orb, which I love.
Yeah, Ice Orb is one of the weaknesses of the Maw, so that'll get the double damage. And
it's not an orb that you see used very often.
Yeah, it's kind of awkward to use, especially because it drops its attack on the ground. Some enemies it's not very functional against, but well.
Remember that gamble that we were talking about doing this cave before fighting the Maw? That would have made
been a thing.
Very weird. As on WindFae on the right, you see a little bit of a danger with using Shadow Seal strats, as she suddenly found herself within striking distance of being one-shotted by the Maw. You don't want to do that. So she had to retreat, reverted back to using Lightwall, and we see the teleport back to the refugee camp, and still not checking the V card. Oh, never mind. I may have spoken too early.
Yep, there he goes.
With that B card, that gives access to, a lot. This is kind of the play right here. If you find 2 more pieces of the Time Spinner, you are technically in go mode. If you go and you kind of go to enter the end game and you just say, hey, you know what? Oh my goodness, there's another gear.
1 more to go.
So you have a lot of checks between now and the boss fight that kind of is the end of the series of required bosses before the end game. And if any one of those checks has the final gear, whew, that is a lead. This might be a keyless seed, yep. And you know what? For a keyless seed, if this pays off to go do the final required boss before the end game here, if Neo finds the last gear, I mean, this is going to be really fast for a Pyramid Keyless Seed.
That would indeed.
Who needs fast travel? The unfortunate thing here is climbing all of this stuff with just the light wall is kind of a pain.
Oh, this room especially, with no double jump and just light wall.
He's actually going to climb up with the light wall. Maybe. He's going to run out of sand. He better use a sand bottle here. And little do you know, the light wall does not start showing up until you have unfrozen time if you've already got 2 on the screen. Just a little minor inconvenience here. And...
oh, I thought he was going to be able to get that grab onto the...
I thought he was too. For some reason, it just didn't. Yeah.
Oh, no.
And we might have a return of the struggle juggle here. We'll see if he just says, screw it. We're not going to do it. It is kind of difficult to do with just light wall. He wants to make sure that he has enough sand to... Oh, no. Oh, I thought he was going to fall again. This is what I mean. Light wall climbing, when that's all you have for vertical movement.
And yeah, these lamps at least offer you sand refill. Looks like they're just moving on. I was wondering if they were just gonna refill the sand to try again.
There's an eternal coat. That'll definitely help with the defense.
Oh, yay.
All right, let's see if WindFae does the same thing or just says, you know what, I'm just going to go to the right. Yeah, she's
doing
it. And kind of falling into the same trap that Neo did. That's not as free as a jump as it looks. And yeah, WindFae's like, I don't need any of that nonsense. Oh, never mind.
Nope, she was just farming up
going
some
back
sand
to get it. Oh, just
making it look easy.
And it's an aura up. WindFae definitely tired of doing those hard climbs and only getting nothing out of it.
Yep. It's always tough leaving a check behind like that because it nags at you for the rest of the scene.
Oh, wow.
Even if...
Neomatamune finding the twin pyramid keys, that fast travel we've been talking about in one of the late game areas. That is just rude. Yeah, I guess Neo's going to make this climb. It's a little tight, but he's pulling it off, no problem.
Oh, yeah, interesting. I usually go out the outside where there's a little breathing room, but...
And Neo will be first into the lab. And this is just a lot of platforms that are just outside of your jumping range.
Oh, they're so frustrating.
It's very frustrating. Speaking of frustrating, those little laser dudes just not cooperative at all.
Oh, they're such jerks. They love to knock you off with those
yeah,
little
this
lasers.
is all movement from here on out.
Oh, until the end of the lab. If it doesn't pay off, then
that is true.
Then it becomes routing again.
Then it suddenly becomes routing once more. But for right now, it looks like WindFae is going into the acid room first. We'll see if Neo climbs up. And following his strategy of just do the required things, this is going to be close. Right, doing a quick check of that item, seeing if he has to do the optional boss to get it, and it was nothing, so he's going to ignore it. Yeah, their Neo is finally kind of jumping up and using a little bit of jump height to get some extra height off of those light walls.
Oh yeah, just positioning them a little bit higher can save you one whole light wall in your climb. But if you if you place them at the top of your jump height, then they're too high for you to grab. So that positioning can be a bit tricky. It definitely takes some practice. WindFae combining time stop climb with light wall to try to either save a little time or a little aura.
And
trying to do that the vanilla way because she knows she's low on aura.
And she is going to make the jump. They are high enough level where they can get plenty of light wall casts.
Yeah.
Neo just rehashing the things that WindFae has done.
Yep. Don't want to pass up the acid room.
Oh man, and there are some situations that would mean that this seed is nowhere close to done. There are places you can get with something like the A key card that will open up a lot of checks and a lot of routing decisions. We'll see if we finally do find the gear somewhere in this lab. It does look like WindFae is going to be the first to get to the boss of this lab. But only by a few seconds. Oh, wow.
Oh, that's exciting.
That's the Celestial Sash, which is infinite upwards movement, right at the end of the lab when they've already used the light wall to climb all over it. That
doesn't technically open anything up, but for what remains of the awkward movement, at least it'll be quick. But yeah, right after a lot of annoying light walling, that's kind of insult to injury.
So yeah, here's this this fight here. WindFae opting to go Nether Orb and Light Wall strats, maybe to just prevent the menuing that would come with switching to an actual weakness.
Yeah. It looked very much to me like, well, this is good enough. It's what I was on, and
yeah,
I'm high enough level for this fight. I can just kill him.
And switching to Blood Orb, even though he did have Eye Orb on, they have Jin Inferno, that is a gigantic weakness.
Oh, I guess if Blood Orb is the only one that's with the Jin Inferno, not wanting to do some menuing.
He doesn't want to menu. Maybe there you go. I was gonna say. Not taking advantage of the Jin Inferno glitch. I don't know if he's just not practiced enough with it or not comfortable enough with it. It does look like we are going to get a full climb of the tower now. A lot easier with the Celestial Sash. Here's a route divergence. We have Neo going into the Emperor's Tower. Oh, Succubus Hairkin behind the C card. That is the game's double jump that WindFaeMaiden just found. But yeah, this is probably the seed right here. Which thing are they doing that has the third gear, and which one are they doing that does not have the third gear?
Absolutely. Hard to say which of them has higher density. Even they're both
right.
But I know a lot of. Never mind. I was going to say a lot of runners will like to do these first 3 checks in the Emperor's Tower right after Genza, and then bail out and go search other stuff, just because those 3 are really quick. But Neo continuing in.
Opting to go now to the... opting to go now to the Emperor's Tower.
Huh.
I was going to say, Neo, there's one more chest up there. There it is!
And then you see it!
There's the go mode. This is going to be very, very, very close.
Wow. Yeah, WindFaeMaiden will come up on that same thing in just a minute.
All right, opting for Voltarillas, even though they do not have the Empire Orb, which is the weakness of this boss. We will see... Oh, Bleak Ring strategies from Neo. This is dangerous because the more damage you take from... the more damage you do with the Bleak Ring, the more damage you take from enemies. He is getting a lot of hits in with the Eye Orb. Maybe this is just the, muscle memory kicking in, but the way he's doing this fight would have been faster if he had just done it with the other choice behind the other portal, which WindFae is taking. So, astonishingly close race here. This is a little bit of menuing here might make the whole difference.
Yeah, this is absolutely close enough that those little differences in...
There's got to be really careful
as we can
here.
see, WindMae has finished that fight faster.
Yeah, and Neo's really struggling with the extra several hundred HP that this boss has over the boss that WindFae fought, and just not getting what he wanted out of his orb swap. This fight is taking much longer than Neo probably wanted. And there it is.
Yeah, so both runners have broken time, and they're off to attack and dethrone God.
Yeah.
So, in the randomizer, we play for the true ending of the game, which requires, as we saw, getting all 5 pieces of the time spinner to get to one of those 2 fights, so that you can come into the Ancient Pyramid and then defeat Nightmare at the end of it.
Yeah, WindFaeMaiden is going to have to make some sort of mistake here for... Neo's going to buy healing items.
Sure. Depending on how confident you are in the final fight, it's definitely better to take a few seconds to buy the healing items than it is to lose because you mess up and take a death in those fights.
Oh, WindFae's doing more Ice Orb strats against another boss that is weak to the Ice Orb. She has that Shadow Ring. She's missing a good chunk of her HP. And then swapping to Jin Inferno for the second phase of the first phase of the fight. Doing damage in big chunks. Does need to be careful about some of these attacks, but she should be fine, and there it is. You get a free heal as you go on to the second phase, so we'll see what her strats are for this final boss fight. Looks like it's light wall, and then standing on the light wall and just mashing.
Nether.
Taking a little damage here to turn those Nether Orb strikes into double the damage that it was. Here's the Desperation attack. This fight is almost over. Chickening out, not taking the damage from that attack. And that's it. We have some exclamation points in chat for WindFaeMaiden. That is a done. Official time of 55:47 when she actually clicked the done button in the race room. It was a very, very exciting race. Neo should be finishing up relatively soon after.
Absolutely, he's already in the Sandman fight. It's stage 2 of Sandman, in fact.
Yeah, this is kind of just an absolute clinic on speedrun strats plus randomizer knowledge. Just a lot of the routing decisions you had to make because you never ever found the fast travel.
Yeah, absolutely. Wef, you may recall I have an appointment at 1 p.m., so I'm going to need to duck off the call if
I got
you're
this.
okay handling the interviews.
Oh, I
Thank
totally
you all
got
for
that.
watching. I had a great time. GG's to WindFaeMaiden and Neomatamune, and take care, everyone.
All right, and there we go. That's exclamation points in chat for Neomatamune. Mark, thank you for helping me with the comms. I got this from here. All right, so I'm gonna hop into the Discord here and see if anyone is up for an interview here. As they both sit on the exclamation point screen. Thank you, everybody, for your exclamation points in chat for these two runners. It was, wow, a really good race. Maybe the fastest, maybe the tightest victory window that we've had so far in this tournament. Just really, really incredible. Just the lead changes were back and forth. It was nuts. All right, looks like they are going to be in here for an interview momentarily. You know, you couldn't have really asked for a better seed to really showcase the game as we get our runners into our Discord here for the post-race interview. Hey, what a close one, huh?
Yeah, I was like, the entire time, I'm like, I don't know how. I mean, I knew how neither of us won that because one, it was keyless for almost all of it, and two, Lightwall was our only vertical unless you went into Varney's tower with C.
Yeah, it was very interesting. Until very late in the seed, you had almost identical routing.
Dang.
There was a couple of lead changes that happened, the struggle juggles, and WindFae, you had a really weird invisible wall.
Yeah.
We were worried that you would have to exit out to get past it, but you were able to kind of light wall your way over it. Fortunately, that would have been really, really unfortunate if you had been soft locked there.
If worst came to worst there, I would have probably tried to glitch through it and just been like, you know what? It's a glitch to get through a glitch. I think it's okay.
Yeah, I was wondering like if you swapped off of light wall, if the light walls would eventually. But I mean, I don't know. It was a very strange glitch that you ran into.
I was
But
moving into it, and I was so like, "What is going on? Where is this?"
yeah, that was very strange. Mark and I were both kind of speechless, and chat was like, "What's going on here?" So yeah, good race. About a minute between your finish times, which is nutty.
I gotta go back and watch that.
Same.
Yeah,
Wow.
it was a lot of it was funny because WindFae, you did spend a lot of time on the struggle juggle in the Royal Towers, only to give up on it and then come back. And Neo actually did it first try, and then later in the military hangar, Neo was trying to light wall up to the top of the bombardiers, and he ended up struggling mightily to get that check. And WindFae, you did that first try, so it was really funny to watch. Neo, what was your what was your thinking here? I know you're sort of you've been part of this community for a little while now, but as someone who is still sort of new-ish, how many pyramid keyless seeds have you done?
I've done quite a few of them because I tend to have no luck with the pyramid keys. So, but often when I end up doing pyramid keys less seed, I have at least the succubus hairpin.
Yeah.
But today it was not the case, and well.
Yep. Not a lot of vertical movement, was a little bit of a struggle. WindFae, so you actually selected Nuvius over Volturilis, and Neo picked Volturilis. There was, as you probably both know, a few hundred extra HP worth of damage, and you actually captured the lead during that fight, but you were both in it at about the same time.
Dang. I was just like, I know he has like 2 different moves, and I know I can just get hit by his dumb swords, and I've got Shadow Seal. I'm gonna go for that. So
Don't really know the difference between the two, but I always pick the same because most of the time I have Empire Fist, which are not useful on one of those. So
Right. Yeah, it's what we were saying. It's like I don't know if it's just what he's used to doing because of Empire Orb, but no Empire Orb in this seed to help you out with Volturilis. But it was still an interesting fight. We were like, it went from exciting to, oh God, please don't die, because you were a little bit close to taking a death there on that fight, and you saved it.
That's why I removed the Bleak Ring halfway, so I took less damage.
Yeah, you were piling up the damage, but then so was Volturilis, so it kind of became a have to self-preserve here.
Yeah.
I was risking a lot by not taking that last Sandman save. I was like, I've got like 160 health. I'll probably live.
Yeah, you did skip that save in order to stop yourself from getting healed to maximize your Ice Orb damage against Sandman. You used Ice Orb twice during the seed, which I love to see. It's not an orb you get to see a whole lot.
It's so good against Sandman and Ma. Like, I don't know if you saw the Ma fight. I fumbled a little bit, but I just healed, put up a light wall, and then just did Ice Orb, and like went from almost full health Ma to like desperation attack dead. Like, didn't even get it off.
Yeah, we saw you had to kind of retreat a little bit and heal. That was also a scary moment. You almost taken a death to the maw.
Those orbs that pop out are sometimes the bane of your existence in that fight, especially if you're going with like Shadow Seal.
Right. I don't know if those are true RNG, but sometimes they just come towards you and you can't really do much about it.
I thought I had a Seablade on, so that's why I did like light wall over in that like weird area, and I was like, oh no.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot more sense then. Well, that was a really entertaining race to do comms on. I'm really kind of grateful for the opportunity to do it. Do either of you have anything else to say?
I like Mark's comment of, I only have an hour, it'll be fine. They're great chances of getting a truly hell seed.
He did roll it. He was the one who rolled the seed, so this is his fault.
It was a fun one.
Naya, you have any closing thoughts? Unfortunately, this does mean the end of
my
your run
last
through the tournament.
race in the tournament, so good luck.
Thank you. It was a good match.
If I followed the tournament, next it's both of you against each other.
Yep.
That is true. Yeah, I was remarking about how I'm actually doing commentary for the 2 racers that whoever wins is going to face me next. So that will be that'll be a really fun race. I'm hoping we'll have to schedule that soon. But for now, I think that's going to be it for us. I'd like to thank our runners for just having this incredibly exciting race to watch. I want to thank Mark. He's gone now, kind of on a short timeline and having to dip. I'm actually late back from my lunch break, so I should probably, log back into my computer or something. But thank you both so much for this race, and to everybody in chat, thanks for watching. Tune in for more Timespinner Randomizer later. It's going to only get more and more exciting the deeper into this tournament we go.
Yep. Thank you, Wef. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Neo. That was a fun one.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Well, thanks SpeedGaming for the restream, and tune in for some more games being played fast here at SpeedGaming 3. I know you'll be forwarded on to some other really interesting tournament content right after this. Thanks everybody for hanging out, and I'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.